This is Eric Posable with Body Morph Pros, and I've got your backstage pass with Lindsay Aceto. We're out here at Quad's Gym. We did a little back training. How you feeling?
Awesome.
So we just got done training a little bit of back and in preparation for an upcoming contest. But for those that may not know you, maybe give a little bit of a background, kind of what got you into competing and why you chose to do figure for your first show. Then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, I grew up an athlete. I mean, I was in all sorts of sports. Didn't really lift weights, though, until early 2013 when I met a mentor. I grew up, obviously, genetically I've got a lot of muscle, but I was kind of ashamed of it as I grew to love the feeling of getting strong and feeling sexy by lifting weights and getting my confidence up. I thought, what a better way to test myself and really feel like see how strong my willpower was than to do a show. So last April, I did Fox City Showdown in figure. I felt really good about coming in. Learned a lot doing that show. Obviously, I needed some help, but couldn't do it all on my own. So this year, going at it again, getting some help from various coaches. Might try my hand at Physique and see where it takes me.
So you glanced over it, but I'm going to bring it back. You just started heavyweight training.
Yeah.
Like a year and a half ago.
Yep.
So for those the people are going to watch this and they're not going to believe that. Like you, so I mean, growing up, obviously, you like you said, you carry a lot of muscle, whatever, and then you kind of got into the weights, and obviously your body loves the heavy weights.
Yeah. So I grew up. Both my parents are. My genetics are stacked to sort of just be built. My mom is kind of this shorter, smaller version of me. She likes to tell people if you attached a bike pump to her foot and like pumped her up, then like you'd have me. But that also means that I grew up. I mean, well, with that, I grew up kind of feeling like having muscle made you masculine. I was tomboy when I was little because I played soccer, was on co-ed teams as long as I could until it migrated into all-girls teams, and was just an athlete. Played rugby in college as I ran track in high school. But all that, like, I had this, my mind was fixated on this whole, oh no, if I get any bigger than I already am, I'm going to be not attractive. And I already felt like I intimidated people and people stared at me. I was so scared of my calves. I know a lot of people notice those like in my posts and things. But I just thought there was no way that in my head I would ever want to be any bigger in any way.
Well, and not only are you a muscular girl, but you're also a taller girl, which when you put those two things together, it intimidates a lot of people, and maybe the people that don't know the sport as well, and there could be that stigma that kind of surrounds it. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, being tall and then broad on top of that, I'm just, I have that sort of like Amazon essence, I guess. When you
very Xena, the Princess Warrior.
I would carry a broadsword if I.
So you were always picked first for grade school sports.
I was. I was always the first girl picked. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. We're football. We'll take Lindsay. She's not even out here. We'll go get her. So let's talk a little bit about your first competition. Like you said, you kind of went into it a little blind, did some of your own diet and everything. What was some of the feedback coming out of that, and then how did that transition into your off season?
Feedback was like that my conditioning was on point. That people obviously recognized I had a lot of muscle. But that my posing, I clearly didn't know what I was doing. So between the having a lot of muscle might be good in physique, and just my own, like, having the stigma in my head where I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to look like the physique competitors, I moved forward and knew I needed to continue to work on, like, rear chain of my body. I need, like, back and glutes. I've got strong hamstrings, and obviously I don't need to work my calves. But just kind of, I wanted that muscle maturity, so no matter what category I decided to do in the future, that I would look my best.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about how you've prioritized your training. Have you kind of restructured everything to make back and glutes and legs and things kind of the priority?
Yeah, so for a while during my off season, I created basically a 2-week split where I also made sure to incorporate, I had a mobility day where I was working on, I've had shoulder surgery in the past. I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose movement, where I wasn't overcompensating. So having a day where it was mobility massage and then forcing myself to take a rest day, which I wasn't doing for so many months. But really doing an isolated back day, but then also having a full rear chain day where it was hammies, glutes, and back. Trying to hone in on that, spacing out my leg days, doing more plyometrics and power and explosive work to not just be working in hypertrophy like I was sort of for the year before my first show, making sure to, because I missed that, like I said, I was an athlete growing up, and so I want to maintain the athletic ability in everything that I do. So making sure that I had both the type of agility and speed training as well as power, doing some powerlifting, fun to kind of max out every once in a while, not something many bodybuilders really get to do, but just kind of playing around with it so that I didn't get bored too, but wanting to maintain that overall athleticism was really important.
So we came in today, we did back, I think we did 6 exercises total, a lot of 4 set exercises. How do you plan out your back day when you come in? Is it just kind of how you feel, or do you have something like a game plan going in?
Yeah, it's really about how I feel and based on the last workouts that I did and like if anything's sore, things that I want to, I'll do days where I do more sort of straight arm stuff like straight arm pull downs or like dumbbell pullover if, say, my biceps or my arms are really sore, if I had an arm day recently, so to speak. But I really I kind of take a look based on like 2 workouts ago, what do I need, what am I feeling, like where haven't I been sore, and kind of target in on that.
Now, I know you said you're getting ready for a show here coming up. I'll let you kind of hype it up a little bit.
Yep. All right, so I'll be doing Milwaukee Muscle Mayhem, May 23rd, in my hometown, so I'm kind of excited because I picked that one so that family and friends could come more easily. It's right there, and it's not far from Chicago, so I'm pretty excited. It should be good. It's 3 days before my next birthday, so then
to celebrate.
The epic cheat meal will follow. So
let's talk a little bit about what your diet and cardio kind of looks like now, because we're about 13, 12 and a half weeks out, right?
So right now, well, it's all changing this week, but it's been working in hypertrophy, a 6-day split. On the 7th day, if I don't fully rest, I might do some really light cardio, but every day has been heavy lifting for an hour, hour and a half, and then 20 to 30 minutes of cardio after, depending on what the workout was. Leg day I don't really last more than 15, 20 minutes at the end. But right now, for the next 2 weeks, I'll be upping my cardio just to kind of start to shred down a little bit faster, see what I'm playing with and where I need to try to work on last minute gains before the next show. So I'll be doing 2-a-days, like cardio fasted in the morning, lifting in the afternoons, plus like a little bit of a cardio at the end, just for that glycogen burnout.
And then, so what's your diet look like? Are you a carb person, a fat person? Do you rotate?
I love fats. Currently, I'm doing a lighter sort of carb cycle. I have more carbs in my diet this time than last time, with like the advice from some pros who I've been kind of consulting with. But we'll see. Like I said, I really love high-fat diet just because I'm not hungry, and I feel like that helps me avoid the whole hangry thing. But I also love seeing what my body does with carbs. So I think it's a constant. It's good to change it up, play with something for 2-3 weeks, see what your body does, change one thing at a time, go from there.
And you're so young in the sport, you don't even know what your body's capable of. That's what's crazy.
Exactly, and that's why I feel like, sure, I might be a little bit older, and I got into the game a little bit later, but I am still such a noob, and that's what's so exciting about this sport, is that it lets me feel like I'm learning something new every single day.
I think being a little bit older, too, I think you'll appreciate it a little bit more because you've worked for some things. Yeah. I think some of these 20-year-olds, they don't know yet.
And some of the 20-year-olds who have never gone through a major body transformation, they've never had that up yo-yo where, at one point in my life, I was over 30% body fat at 215 pounds. And then when I was in graduate school, I dieted down, I did like Weight Watchers, and I was a cardio queen, and I got down to 155 pounds. But I was probably, maybe 16% body fat there. But then I yo-yoed back up, and when I started lifting weights at the beginning of 2013, I was about where I am right now as far as what the scale says, but the scale means nothing, as I've learned. But I was probably at about 20-something% body fat at the time, lifting weights, having a smaller waist than ever. I have a transformation picture that I show a lot of my clients where it goes from 215 down to 160 and then 170 at like 13% body fat, and I show them, I'm like, my waist is 2 inches smaller here, and look how much better like my shoulders look, and I still have there's femininity to it, but sure I'm harder than I was before, but like fuck the scale. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have cussed, but like
we're not PG rated. You can say whatever you want.
You know, I just tell people, and that's the biggest thing with my training clients is that I tell them, you know, they come into me and they're like, oh, I want to lose like 5 to 15 pounds. It's typical. I'm like, well, let's forget the scale because let's take some measurements, and that's what we'll see the difference in, because that's what's important.
And I love that philosophy. I think too many people are focused on the scale, and it's breeding the wrong type of diet. So it's a good philosophy.
I mean, if I looked at the scale right now, if I tell people like how much I weigh,
115, right?
Oh yeah, maybe my left leg, but seriously, I mean, being about 190 pounds right now, and or I show people my last stage photos where I was 165 at 10.9% body fat. People are like, "There's no way. How do you weigh that much?" I'm like, it's not the weight, because that's not what's important. Obviously, I'm not fat now. I wasn't fat, and those like, you got to forget that.
But you're also very tall, and you could hold the weight. You were 5'1" and 190. You look like
I'd be quite different. Be a lot rounder.
But you can carry the weight, and it looks good on you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, hey, I know it's post-workout, and you got to get some cardio done, and I'm holding you up, so we'll let you get out of here. But before we do, any quick shout-outs, anyone that you want to thank for helping you out?
Huge thanks to Livesoar Apparel, just constant support from the beginning, and Body Morph Pros since I met you guys.
I know those guys. They're pretty cool.
They're kind of neat. But yeah, all my clients, everyone that I've worked with all along the way. Lauren, thank you so much for being the greatest mentor anyone could ever imagine.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you get out of here, but before we do, we're signing off. This is Eric Posaple with Body Morph Pros, and this has been your Backstage Pass with Lindsay Aceto. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks.